Hi everyone, and welcome to a retro handheld video. What you can see in front of you right here, this is the R36S. Now, what has generally come to be seen in retro handhelds is that this is the sort of flagship for the budget console, the budget handheld. It's dirt cheap. It runs all the basics, and it's been seen as basically being like the granddaddy of the clone handhelds. And as such, there's been a burst of copycats and clone handhelds and various things designed around the same sort of architecture as this thing. So today I'm not here to talk about the R36S. Pop that one to the side. What I'm here to talk about is the mode MyMini, or the game console mode MyMini. So what we've got here, you can see by the design, we've got a really interesting shape going on here. It's small and it's got this center thumbstick. So let's take a look at the box here. So here we've got support 10 simulator, tens of thousands of games, strong game processing chip, smoothly run a variety of large games, dual 3D joystick design makes the game experience even better. Okay. Oh, and here we've got presented case and a per screen protector, because nothing screams quality like a per screen protector, right? Around here you can see the colors that it comes in. This one is the pink one, because why not go for a glarish color, right? And then if we go on the side here, we've got the usual things. And then here we have some specs. I will just hold that up here so you can see. Running an open source Linux system, which pretty much all of these are. We've got 640 by 480 screen. All the usuals you can see there. What's also fun here is this bit at the bottom. Because the function of the CPU's limitation, it may not be compatibilizing all games, because some of the games are not supported is normal phenomenon. Basically, that is a terribly worded way of saying, hey, we've included some games in here that don't work. Sorry. Great. So, let's pop this open. Now, I've already opened this and tinkered with it. I'm just showing you guys what you get here. So this actually comes in funky case. I quite like the case. I'm not 100% on that design on the front, but it's not horrific. Like, for a very cheap system, I think I paid £23 British for this system. For a very cheap system, getting a case with this is great. So we go in the case, and here we have the system, along with various bits. We've got screen protector and wipes, USB cable, and manual. So we'll just put all this aside, because you're not here for any of these bits. You don't care what's in the box, really, apart from maybe the case. The case is decent. Pop that to the side. What you're here for is this thing. Now, let's bring it this here. You can see significantly smaller than the R36S. Significantly smaller. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We'll see now. So first of all, on the front here, you got buttons feel alright. I'm not too sure about this D-pad. I keep changing my mind on the D-pad, but the buttons feel alright. got your start and select, very clicky start and select, very clicky start and select, and of course you've got this thumbstick. Switch style thumbstick with RGB lighting around it, pretty standard these days, but it's the position of it that's interesting. Mono speaker with this funky cutout design here for the speaker grill. On the bottom you've got your charging port and your headphone jack. Over here we've got power on, reset button, and TF2 card, and inside there is a TF2 card. Oh, and there's our buddy with the headphones again, unique style. Not too sure what this unique style branding is. There we go. So if we switch around to the other side, TF1 slot, no TF1 card. We got a TF2 card, but no TF1 card. And if you're wondering what does that mean, have they labeled it wrong, what have you, I will explain this in a bit. Volume rocker, volume down, volume up. Moving to the top, OTG port. So there's not a built-in Wi-Fi in this. You can expand it with a Wi-Fi dongle or USB controller or whatever. The back here we've got the lovely game console branding, model MyMini, claiming to have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, and actually we've got a door here that we can pop open for the battery, and if we flip that around, it does indeed on it say 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Okay, and I do like that it has got a battery compartment. It makes swapping out the battery very easy if needed. That's one thing I do like. Here you can see as well we got the trigger buttons. R2 and L2 are slightly raised compared to these. Very pocketable style. I don't have one to hand, but it very much is reminiscent of the MyMini, especially with this, how they're laying this out. It's kind of like it's copying the MyMini. Okay, and that is our system. So you can see the screen actually takes up a massive amount of the real estate of this system. If we compare here, you can see there's a big difference. So our R36S is probably about 50% screen, 50% everything else. This is more than 50% screen here. It's pretty much the same size screen, but it's a much smaller system in itself. Now what I found is that long play times are a little bit cramped in my hands for this thing. This one is much more comfortable in the hands than this. I think I prefer the triggers on this one to this, because these feel cheap and mushy, whereas these are they are clicky triggers, but I don't mind that. But it's just the whole positioning and size does make it feel cramped. Okay, anyway, let's boot this thing up and see what we got. MyMini open source console, and built into this software wise we have good old EmuElec. We'll wait for it to boot. We still wait for it to boot. There we go, we can see color change down here, and you can see EmuElec is now loading. Here we go, and yeah, mine happens to not be fully in English, as you can see. It's not fully in English here, the menu. You can see we've got various systems on here. You see, this is one thing that annoys me. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we got a power status LED down here as well. One thing that does annoy me with this is the control pad. Not every input is detected. It's mostly all right, but I find it's a bit mushy. Not every input is detected. Let's see what we've got in here. And yeah, look, absolutely chock-a-blocked. Absolutely chock-a-blocked with commercial ROMs. If we go across, oh, Atari, yeah, Atari. Yeah, it's absolutely. And box art scrapings all over the place, numberings all over the place. They've even got Mario on here. Yeah, no, I don't approve of them doing this. At the end of the day, they're loading systems up with commercial ROMs. And whether you use commercial ROMs or not is another thing. But to sell a commercial product loaded up with commercial ROMs that you do not have the rights for is just, it's flat out dodgy. Let's be honest here. It's flat out dodgy. You know, like, nothing against people putting their own ROMs on here, but companies selling you a device that's already preloaded with ROMs, like we go into Game Boy Advance here, like look, there's absolutely loaded with Game Boy Advance games, absolutely loaded with them. And if we come on to like DS, okay, it's you can see, like, you got Final Fantasy games here, and there's not even care taken about this. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. They've ROM dumped, turned a scraper on, and left it that they've not checked it or anything, and it's just a mess. And like I said, including commercial ROMs on a product that you're selling is not a good. You're asking for trouble, you know. Anyway, oh my god, look, quality control, there is none. I'm in, that's not even in English. Like, you can see LED settings here. We can play around with the LED settings. Let's, I put flow on, you can see what the LED is doing here. Yeah, anyway, that's annoying me. So I'm gonna, knowing my way around here, I'm going to where I believe quit is. So we're gonna quit. I'm gonna shut down. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna load this up with custom firmware, specifically Rocknix. I'm gonna load this up with a Rocknix card, and I am gonna start afresh, and I am going to show games that are homebrew games that you can download legally for free off the internet. Okay. One thing I will say about this is, you think, oh, the center position, you know, maybe it's good for N64, you know, maybe it works for N64 because the N64 had a center-based thumbstick, so maybe it's best for N64. This thing crawls with N64. It can run some N64. I would not buy this for N64 at all. Do not buy this for N64. Okay? Anyway, I did say that I would talk about why there's no TF1 card and a TF2 card there. So, this is not booting an operating system straight off the SD card. This has a chip inside where the operating system is stored onto it. EmuElec is saved to the chip inside this machine. So if I pull this out, this is just a ROM card. That's all this is. This is just a ROM card. Let's get rid of that. We don't want that. Watch what happens. You'd expect this to not even attempt to boot. This will attempt to boot. If I turn on, see? It's going to try and boot. It's going to get to a point where it tries to read from the ROM card, and it's going to panic because it's lost the ROM card. But the core basis of EmuElec is stored internally here. You can see it's even done this. See, you can see it's trying to load. Now it's complaining that it can't find the paths. Can't find the paths to the game cards and the ROMs. So that's fine. I will just power off here. There we go. Okay, so this hasn't even got the operating system on this card. This card, this one right here, is not even needed for an operating system. It's just got ROMs on it. This thing errors trying to boot because it's looking for the ROMs. But this is just a ROM card at the end of the day. They might have 1 or 2 settings files on here, but they don't need to. The OS is on the system itself. But I'm going to boot the OS off the TF1 slot. Remember, guys, this one came from the TF2 slot. Anyway, I will be back in a moment with that. Right, guys, I am back with the MyMini, and we can see now we are booting into Rocknix. So I'm just going to let that boot. You can see TF1 card, nothing in the TF2 slot. Typical of an EmuElec clone, really. There we go. So I've gone with a very, very simple theme here for Rocknix, and you can see everything seems to be working quite nicely. Now, I mentioned earlier that I am not a fan of companies including proprietary ROMs, or should I say commercial ROMs, in the sales, on cards for the sales of these sorts of devices. And as such, I figure that I'd like to show off what you can download as a free homebrew game to run on one of your devices like these. Now, I just wish that companies that make these devices would include games that they're allowed to include. So, you know, they could contact indie developers, get permission to include games that are freely available, and they could easily load cards up with homebrew games. The problem is that it would take them effort to contact all of these developers for permission to include these games, and the time that it would take to go through it and curate it is a lot more than just dumping a hard drive full of ROMs. And that's the truth of it. You know, that's what this comes down to. But let me show you what is available. So I've got Dedius in Game Boy. I've got Super Nintendo. I've got I can't even pronounce that. Mezam, I think it's Mezam. But that's a cool game. These are games that I will show off at some point, but right now I'm going to go to GBA. And I got a few different ones here. And these are all available to download for free off the internet legally. I will showcase one right now, and we may show the others in some other videos going forward. So this is, please forgive me if I completely butcher the pronunciation, but this is Aereven Advance. Aereven Advance, or rather, if we bring this closer, Legends of Aereven Advance, Sleeping as You. Okay, so let's give this a go. Go new game. And now you can see this is like an indie Zelda game. So you can talk. D-pad feels pretty good. If you're wondering why I've got this going on here and I've not expanded the screen, it's because I've gone with having integer scaling. What I can actually do, let's go in here into our RetroArch settings, video, we'll go scaling, and let's go with integer scale off. Just turn that off for now, just so that you can see it taking up the screen real estate. I mean, I personally feel like it looks better when it's been integer scaled, but if you wanted to fill the full screen, and for the purpose of showing this off in the video, you can see here, so you can see we can wander around. If I thumbstick also works quite nicely here, little swipes. So yeah, this does feel quite cramped to hold. This does feel quite cramped to hold. This, I suggest, I'm not going to play too much of this game, guys. Like, you can see what's going on here. And the sounds on this game is great. I'll include a link to the page for this game in the description. So if we pop in here, you can see, welcome, something is you. Yes, I know who you are. I've heard of your deeds in Berlin. I also know of your quest to be reunited with your parents. And so this then goes into the storyline of the game. A few moons ago, your mother came here to battle the shadow. She triumphed over the monster, of course, but afraid she was severely injured. To save her life, the Fae put her in a magical healing sleep. So we got to fight. We got to rescue our mother from this magical sleep. Basically, we've got to restore her here. Should be fine now, but I can't wake her up myself. See, the Fae made it so you need 3 magical stones of our archipelago to wake her up. This game actually sounds great. The sounds, the background music of this game sounds really good. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil this game too much for you guys, but this gives you an idea of the sort of game that you can enjoy without, you know, without resorting to games that are potentially on some really, really sketchy card. Look at that. That thing is probably, it's not focusing properly, but there we go. That thing is probably going to fail something horrendous, and that is a ticking time bomb and stuff is going to fail. You know that's a very cheap memory card, and it's riddled with commercial ROMs that have no purpose in being there. Like, let me come out of that now. There we go. So, what do I think of the MyMini? I've played it a lot more off camera. This was just a quick show in to you guys. I've played it a lot more off camera. Do I recommend this over this? Not really. To be perfectly honest with you, not really. I've had a lot of fun tinkering with this, but I wouldn't prefer it over this. This one just in the hands is just much more comfortable for bigger hands. This might be better in a kid's hands. It's quite small, it's quite compact, it might be better in a kid's hands. This stick is an interesting design choice. I'm not saying it's a good choice or a bad choice, it's just kind of there. It's just kind of there. Like, I'm glad it has a stick, but it doesn't really add or take anything away from the experience. The D-pad, I initially hated the D-pad. This D-pad I initially hated. I'm growing to, I'm not going to say love, I'm growing to tolerate it. I'll put it that way. The buttons are fine. The face buttons are fine. I'm growing to tolerate the D-pad. It's got a nice pivot to it, but it's, yeah, it doesn't always register your inputs. It's not terrible. I've used worse D-pads, but I've also used much better D-pads. Build quality it's a decent quality. It's a decent quality. Like, if you compare these next to each other, this looks and feels far cheaper than this does. They're both about the same price, give or take. You know, in the same bracket, you know, there's not much difference price-wise between the two of them. Which one was easier to deal with as far as custom OS was concerned? I mean, I made this look easy, but there was a lot of fiddling around before this. I tried an Arc OS image which worked, but then the buttons weren't recognized in the RetroArch menu, so I ditched that. I could have tried to fix it, but I ditched that and went with Rocknix instead. But this Rocknix build is not one of the official builds as such. This is someone has taken the official build and done a quick modification to get it running on this device, which you can see it runs fine, it runs great. But again, a little bit of tinkering involved there. There's a massive community behind it. It's very easy to get a clean OS build flashed on this, on the R36S. So, is the MyMini worth buying? Here's what I like. I like the price. Like, the price on this thing is great. It's really cheap. It's, you know, it's in this same sort of price range bracket. It's really cheap. It's nice. I like the screen. The screen looks very, very nice. I like how pocketable this is. It's very sleek, very pocketable. I question the sticky outness of this thumbstick because it doesn't stick out too badly. It's okay. It doesn't make it massively less pocketable or anything like that. But it means it doesn't quite slide in without catching, slide into the pocket without catching. But it's still pretty pocketable. Like, it's much more pocketable than this. Like, look at that size difference. So it's got portability going for it. It's got that pocketability going for it. Quite like the triggers. They are clicky, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but like, they do the job fine. My biggest problem is it's cramped. What I do not like is how cramped this thing is. The stick position would have been great for N64, but this thing is not powerful enough to manage N64 properly. I would not buy this for N64 at all. It is not an N64 machine. What, again, I don't like about it, but you can say this about pretty much every other handheld out there at this point, but what I don't like is this nonsense. Like, cheap nonsense card with, you know, a commercial ROM set that they clearly haven't got permission to use, and they've clearly just slapped it on and hoped for the best. Like, even on the box, like this disclaimer that not every game on the card is going to work. Like, really? That's ridiculous, you know? And the per screen protector, quality control on this device, the device itself, quality seems fine on that. No, not a problem with the actual quality on that. The production quality of the overall packaging and user experience is lacking, though. Device itself, great. Everything around that, not great. Although I will say, this case is a very nice feature on such a cheap handheld. I do like that, the fact that it comes in a carry case. So yeah, that's my opinion on the MyMini, which is it decent? I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's a decent machine. There are so many things that could have been done better with this. So many things that could have been done better than this. But I've seen worse. It's another EmuElec clone, and if you are a grown adult and you're buying this for yourself, you are going to find it cramped. If you're buying this for a kid, that's a different story. Their hands are smaller. They might enjoy this a lot more. But again, don't deal with that nonsense. This is trash. Even if you're cool with, you know, what's on the card, which is not great, but even if you're cool with that, the quality of the card means that this thing is a ticking time bomb and could fail at any time. I would also be concerned that because the OS is on internal storage, I would be concerned at the quality of the internal storage in this thing too. I would not want to be running this off the default OS, the EmuElec OS, because you have no idea how long that, at what quality that internal storage is. At the price point of this machine, probably not good quality. So you don't know if that is going to fail on you anytime soon. And I'd worry about that. So booting this off the TF1 slot is a much better option in my opinion. So yeah, that's the MyMini. That is a bit of a mixed bag. Which one should you buy, the MyMini or the R36S? It depends, but personally, I still think the R36S has not been toppled here. Anyway, catch you next time, guys.